And welcome to the High Level Living podcast podcast, whatever it is. I'm coming for you today in Denver, Colorado. That's why you get this weird background and everything that's going on. So I have to apologize for that in advance. However, today we are talking with our guest, Andrew Tom. Andrew Tom is an LA City firefighter who has a very interesting story. He went from all he wanted to do was become a fireman because he saw that as a kid and seeing the kind of lives that they lived as a kid when he would go vacation. They knew how to do everything, really smart people. And then he just dived into it, got hired with Clark County Fire. Then he went into LA City Fire. And he has a crazy story at the end where he almost died. So he tells that in detail at LA City Fire, where he almost died and got trapped into a burning building. But, we go into detail on that in the whole show. But what comes of that is now he travels all over the world. He's been to around 19 to 20 countries overall, and not like the European countries where you're able to go to Europe and visit like 50 all at once. But no, like hard to reach third world countries. And we kind of talk about the fun part of that in regards to culture and just really relishing in that time freedom and how he's gotten there. And then from his incident, investing more into real estate, getting up to 3 units from there and really enjoying and fastening more of his time and living at a different level, a different pace than everyone else. Anyway, it's a great show. Let's jump on and let's welcome our man, Andrew Tom. Andrew, man, I'm so excited to have this conversation with you and this show with you. I've been, I know we've been talking back and forth for a while now, and it's really good to have you on. And I'm excited to actually have you on to share your story and kind of what you can be able to give to our audience.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, my man. So, dude, real quick, let's just tell me who you are, who you work for, what industry you're involved in, and kind of just, I guess, just starting off with that, with you and what that looks like.
Okay, well, my name's Andrew, obviously, and I'm a Los Angeles firefighter. I'm 33 years old, and I started investing in real estate, I guess, a couple of years ago now, 2020. And I'm doing it to pretty much get my time back from being at work all the time, because we work 24-hour shifts, and a lot because it's more than you think, and you don't get to go home every day. And I just want to get that time back. So I'm going to try to do that through real estate investing.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. And you said, so you're 33, you've been working for, you said LA City Fire?
Yes, I worked for Los Angeles City Fire Department since 2016. And then I worked as a firefighter in Las Vegas for Clark County Fire Department for 3 years before that.
Wow. So a total time of, what are we looking at? We're looking at 8, 9, 10 years?
2014, 8 years. 8 years.
8 years?
8 years this May.
Oh, wow. So that's awesome. So what made you want to say, for example, to begin with, what led you to that path to follow that industry or to get into the fire service?
Growing up, I had a lot of my parents' friends were all firefighters, and we'd always go on vacations together. And I saw how they were, I've mentioned this before, but I saw how much cooler they were than my dad and my parents. I'm like, man, these guys know how to do everything. They have all the cool, like they had all the boats and dirt bikes, but they knew how to fix them. They knew how to cook. I was like, these guys are, now being a firefighter, I know how, where they learned everything from and all this stuff. Like they were good at cards and like, this is all like playing card games. And I was like, man, shoot, you learn all these things because you're at work as a firefighter all the time, just, doing the regular fire and medical runs, and then going and just learning how to do things in your off time. And I was like, okay. So I didn't know that until I saw them and I did some ride-alongs. I was like, okay, it's cool. It's a cool job. Like this is a career I can get into. And, I did the business. I went to college and did I graduated with a business degree, and I knew immediately this is not what I want to do. And like at that time I was like, nope, not gonna dress up and sit in a little cubicle for my whole life like most people do in the United States. And so I got into the fire service, and it's been really nice, like helping people, and you really change someone's life just by coming into their house. They just expect like like kind of expect a professional firefighter to come in and make their day better. And it actually helped. And it brings me joy that we get to help people in a time of need. So we'll get into it, I'm sure, but that's kind of changed a little bit for me. So that's why I started investing in real estate and kind of really, I want to get my time back because I'm basically trading, time for money right now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's definitely a concept that we like to talk about and just acknowledge as well, right? And before we leave, I'd say the field of fire service, because I know, just creeping on your Instagram, I'm seeing all these crazy travel pictures and you doing all sorts of things all around the world. And I think that is something that is so phenomenal. And since I'm talking about it, might as well just jump right into it. But for the travel aspect, what brought you interested into wanting to travel? When did you start traveling? And what kind of, I guess, brings the consistent flow of always going out and doing it again and again and again?
Well, I think that's one of my best qualities is I'm pretty consistent with what I do. If I want to do something, I'll do it. Like I said, for traveling. So I was born and raised in Los Angeles and, never really left. We went on some vacations as a family, but, it was always the same places like San Francisco, Las Vegas, Hawaii, great places, but we never really explored the rest of the United States or internationally. But when I moved to Vegas and I was on my own, I did a road trip to Utah. I was like, whoa, this place, this outdoors, Zion National Park, Bryce Canyon, etc. All those national parks, like, this is out of this world. And then I realized I need to get out of my bubble of Southern California is the best.
And what year was that? How old were you? What year was it?
I was 25. It was 2015 probably when I started like traveling, and then I did my first international trip. That was to Peru, and then since then I was like, whoa. I thought Utah was amazing. Now I'm in Peru, like Machu Picchu. Like, how did they build this on top of this mountain? And I was like, okay. That's when I started trading time in for work. I'd work consecutive days, and then I'd try to take a month off to go travel internationally.
Oh man,
2020 I haven't really traveled, but internationally, like that's where it's all at now. The experiences that you get out there are so much different than what most people never leave their bubble experience.
Well, just to tap on that real quick, like what experiences have you experienced traveling that were like, man, that was really cool or really special?
Wow, there's so many, but it's just like meeting people from all over the world, and you talking about how I grew up and how my life is, and they talk about how their life is and where they've been and how their culture is. It's different. It's not really like, it's not just one thing, one experience that makes it. It's the whole thing of going out there and sharing different cultures with people and seeing how people live. And I think, I know we have a lot of debates and issues in the United States with politics and stuff like that. But when I go out to other there's a reason why everybody wants to flood into the United States. Everyone wants to come here because you go to these other countries that a lot of people from the United States have never been to. They're way worse. They're back in like, I could give so many examples, but it's like living in like the early 1900s in the United States in other countries. And I'm like, okay, and we're complaining about what we have here. So I'm like, okay, if everybody could just go out there and experience these things, then we would all come together and, I don't know, it'd be a better world. But it's not like, it takes money, and that's not what everyone has.
Is there a particular country that pops first into mind that kind of is like more in that early 1900s kind of vibe in terms of like how they do things?
Well, I usually don't get books before I travel somewhere, but my first solo international trip was to New Zealand and Australia. And I'm reading the book and how like, oh man, like they hate the Asian immigrants there because a lot of them flood from like Southeast Asia there.
Yeah.
And because they get paid a lot more in Australia. So they're like kind of stereotypical, like racist against the Asians. And I was like, it's not, it won't be a big deal. And then I get there and they're not racist to me at all. Like nobody in Australia. But then I'm doing this my first time jumping.
American.
Yeah, I think it's an American, so it's a little different. But we're doing skydiving. I've never done that before. I was like, I'm gonna do it. We're gonna land on this beach in Australia, and there's like 10 of the like people who jump out with you. I don't know what they call them, and then there's 10 like tourists that are jumping, and they're just like talking. They're all buddies. They're all talking and talking trash to each other, like kind of like we do with our friends.
Yeah.
And I was like, they were totally just that. Like they're saying 9 of them were all from Australia, and then there was one guy from like Argentina, and they were just making fun of him for being Mexican. I'm like, dude, I mean, this would never fly in any other in the United States. Where they're all just making fun of this guy for being Mexican. He was Argentinian.
Wow. Wow.
and in front of a bunch of random like paying customers, I'm like, whoa, and it's like over the top, and I'm like, okay, like, yeah, I mean, go for it. But this would happen in the United States. Imagine if that happened in the United States. There'd be like an uproar
all over social media and everything. Like,
and the same thing with we're getting into like random things, but they have their Aboriginals, which are kind of like our Native Americans, and we didn't treat the Native Americans the best here, and probably still don't. But they still treat them like it's early 1900s. They literally like don't let them into the bars. They kick them out. I was like, whoa. I think there's drunk Australians, Europeans, a bunch of drunk just tourists everywhere, and the only person they're bugging is the drunk Aboriginal that's like way too drunk, passed out. They're pouring out his beer. I'm like, dude, this is insane to see this this is 2018.
Wow. So I had the opportunity to go to New Zealand, and I was doing some form of a trip in these, I guess, sounds, and I was talking to an Australian, and we were talking about the native people, which was the Maori people, I guess, were the most native of New Zealand. And they were saying, like, because New Zealand had a really good relationship in terms of like when they came to work with the Maori. And part of that was because they were definitely like a strong force to reckon with. But the Australian woman was saying, man, I wish we had a better history with our Aborigines. Like, I guess it was a very like violent, bloody, taken advantage of, killing, like a lot of bad stuff.
Yes, it's not everybody like that in New Zealand, or not everybody's like that in Australia.
Yeah.
But it's just like a couple experiences. I was like, whoa, like. And
that's today, like last couple of years.
Yeah, and I'm sure like now, so I always think social media is like it's a blessing and a curse. Like I got a lot of following from my travel photos and stuff, and it kind of urged me to like, oh, maybe I should travel some more. And then it did. And then like, I'm not going to say social media made me travel, but in a way it did. Like I found places to go to because of social media, which, some people don't like now, because you go to Zion National Park and you have to make reservations a month in advance, and then it's packed. Like, or back then, before that, like there was no fences. You could just kind of go wherever you want. Like things have changed. It's a blessing and a curse. So I don't know.
Man. Yeah, I completely agree with that. I had the opportunity around the same time as I got hired with the city of San Diego in 2015. And I think the year after, me and my buddy, we went to Iceland, and it was so like vast and free, no fences, no nothing. We were driving in like these places where we probably shouldn't be driving, and going places where we probably shouldn't be going. But I think it was also, Iceland was just getting put on the map. But at the same time, it didn't have a huge influx to where there's so much of like, I guess, rules and regulations for what we were allowed or not allowed to do. And I can only imagine, man, like this is so untouched, but this would not be the same case in California, or, someplace specifically in California. We wouldn't have this much freedom to do these different things, I guess. Yeah. But I think it's pretty cool to be able to experience, I guess, a sense of freedom to be able to just go and not be restrained from seeing like cool, beautiful architect and history and vast lands that are way different,
Right. That's why I live for those experiences, to see how other people live. And hopefully I'm still like, I guess I'm old school now. I like to see what it's like, what it would have been like pre social media. Like,
yeah.
free cell phones. Like that's why I do like going to countries that are more third world, like where they're not as developed as far as travelers and stuff, and then you can kind of live like a local and see what it's like. So, but
we're actually planning on doing that. We're going to Nicaragua in 2 weeks, and we're going to be staying. I think one of the places that we're staying with is with a family for like a few days, just to kind of see what their life looks like on the farm and that kind of stuff, which is for me pretty exciting, cool experience.
And I think, I don't know if you do that, but other people, I mean, I don't think anybody does what I do, but I travel with I'm too cheap to pay for the cell phone service. So I travel with no cell phone. Most people have Wi-Fi in their cities. It's something weird that the US doesn't do, but cities have free Wi-Fi in their main cities. So I can just get on the Wi-Fi real quick and, get on the maps and be like, okay, I need to take this train and walk this way. And then boom, I'm there. And I think that experience just itself is it's so fun. And instead of putting in because then I have to act like a local. I have to talk to people, and get directions, and that it's just, and they don't speak my language sometimes, which is, it's part of the experience that I love, and I wish other people would pursue the same thing. Because once you get a taste of it, it's like, you get that travel bug.
Yes. So I have 2 questions on the travel side of things I really want to like dive into. Well, one is really quickly, it's like a one answer, but first question is, how many countries have you visited? Second question is, can you tell me one story that just stands out and that's very unique, that you think is very special in accordance to your travels, that really like embarks some of the things you love about traveling?
So I can't remember how many, because it's been 2 years since I've been internationally. I used to track it, but like 18 or 19-ish countries. Okay. But I like to spend like a week in each one at least. I don't just do the honestly, I haven't done any of the Europe traveling for many reasons that we can get into, but it's too easy to just go from train to train and then just hop on. And I feel like, I could do that when I'm older with a family. I can just go from train to train. So I like to do these third world countries where I have to take a boat and then I have to take a small plane or something like that. But, that's crazy. My favorite experience is probably when I was in Vietnam, and then I was with another firefighter that I went with, and we motorbiked the northern part of the country, and you spend like 3 days doing it, and you stay at a local like Vietnamese person's homestay. They call it a homestay, and they just cook you dinner and breakfast, and then you're on your way, and then you just go another 45 kilometers. Like, you're going slow on the scooter through this countryside. You just see mountain ranges everywhere. You don't really see many cars, but if you do, like, you just just get out of their way. But you're just going, and then you spend the day traveling through these villages. So that experience is just something that, like, man, I'll never forget. And I mean, it's crazy out there. It's so different than what you expect.
Yeah.
At one point, you can just walk over the border into China. There's just on the mountain, there's a little fence that you can say this side's China, this side's Vietnam, and there's no. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to run into China. I'm not going to do that because China, but I mean, there's nobody there, and people go there and take photos, and like just eating the local food off of something that most of us in the United States take for granted. We go all organic. Has to be cooked with a cast iron grill, and you're gonna get cancer. It was just like they're burning trash in the fire and cooking food on it with that fire, and I was eating it, and then they'd take my trash and throw it in the fire. I'm like, dang, like,
dude.
I don't know. I could talk forever about traveling, and that's why I want more of these experiences. So that's where the this high level living style is trying to pursue.
That's right, man. I mean, just to double up on that too, I think whenever I hang out with new people or just hang out with people in general, the thing I enjoy talking about most is our travels and experiences, because typically the people in the United States, I mean, most of them, I mean, no offense, but like my mother-in-law, she's never been outside the country, and it's barely been to like only so many different states. And that's something that's like, when you think about it, that's a lot of the United States population. They just don't get to experience those things.
Yeah, and it kind of makes me sad. I mean, I think about it all the time because I meet with a lot of people in like my rentals. I'm always trying to get, because I house hack, so I try to get renters in all the time, and I'm doing a lot of interviews of people from like all over the United States. They want to move to San Diego because it's a pretty nice area. Wow. So, and I try to get travelers because you need to be able to live with roommates. So someone who's been traveling is going to be better than someone who's from like whatever, their small town and has never lived anywhere else to experience anything else. But so yeah, I mean, the experiences they share with me are always great, and we always kind of talk about, man, it sucks that like our parents, they grew up in a small town in the Midwest, and they can't afford to go move to California or go on vacations to Hawaii because it's too far. And this is just the United States, and that's what most of our generation wants. And now that, I mean, it's different now. We have planes, we can get everywhere, social media, like internet. You can just book a flight and go somewhere the next day, which our parents couldn't have done. So I get that part. It was a little different times, but
yeah, no, totally get that. I mean, it's the value that we have now. I mean, it's all about opportunity, and I feel like now in our season of life and our history of where we are, it's definitely been the most easiest to travel and kind of go around different places than it has been in the past. But man, and I'm just thinking in regards to this too, it's like, it's not, what's unique is you've shared a couple things in regards to traveling to other countries and places where I feel like going to Australia and New Zealand, like, okay, you had this perception of they might act and see me different because I'm not the typical person that they have there, right? Like predominantly, I'm assuming it's going to be Caucasian, that kind of thing. But even if you go to like Vietnam, I'm not sure if that is very like, what is your background?
I'm Chinese, but
okay, so
born and raised in LA.
Okay, do they have a lot of Chinese individuals in Vietnam?
I mean, I think they do because they border China, but I mean, I can't tell a difference, and nobody really spoke English there. That's where I was just like, like.
So you probably stick out for some. Huh.
Yeah, get in Ubers. They have these things called what's it called? But they wear green. They're Ubers. There are scooters, right? Because they all ride the scooters, and you just look for the guys in the green helmets, and you just wave them down, and you just get on their back. And I can't tell them I want to go. I show them on the map and like on my phone like that there, and there's two of us. So we can't all get on one scooter. So then he'd have to call another one of the scooters. I can't remember their name, but it'll hit me at some point in this interview. But yeah, they call up another guy, and then they show him, here we're going. Oh no, oh yeah, we can't go there. Okay, we can, and then we just hope they take us there, and it's fun because they do. You're just weaving through traffic in a little scooter.
Dude, that is so fun. That is so crazy. And I think the cool part about it is that you're able to do that, now. And I'm assuming you're single. You're not married, right? You don't have a.
Yeah, I'm single right now. That's why it's easy. Like I do these things. I can go to whatever, London, and go look at. I don't even know what's there, but they go to London and go look at the museums and stuff with a family. But I can't ever do this. Just wave a guy down in a scooter and jump on his back and travel to the next spot. I can't do that with a family. So that's what I'm doing. I like to do these things.
I love that. Yeah, that's definitely the way to go. I mean, I definitely see now, like, even as we're traveling to Nicaragua and we're doing things a little differently, I still will not be able to put my daughter and my pregnant wife on the back of a scooter of a random guy I don't know, just can't happen. But man, that's awesome. So I know that this was.
It hit me. It's called grab, which makes total sense. Like you just grab a guy and you grab.
Grab. That's awesome. So I know so there was a particular incident that happened in your career that kind of changed the mindset of really a lot of what you did and what you want to spend time doing and why you started investing a little more heavily in real estate to get your time back. Can you explore a little bit about that? What happened and really how that completely changed your mind?
So before we get to the instance, I like traveling and I was able to do it. I was making it work. It just wasn't enough for me. So when it came to the incident, I was in this really significant fire in Los Angeles where 11 firefighters almost died. It's called the Boyd Street Fire. And I was inside the building when it exploded. And, we were in there for about 45 seconds, according to our little green sheet and all the research that we do after. But in there, I thought I was going to die. I thought we were trapped inside, and I thought that was the end of my life. And, a lot of people, I'm not a religious person, so I don't believe in like any, I think I believe there is a God, but I didn't grow up in church. I don't have this mindset of faith, like, okay, it's okay, I just lie here and I'll go to heaven or whatever you believe.
Yeah.
I was just thinking of it was kind of the opposite for me. I was thinking of like what I haven't done in life, and I'm single and still I'm single right now. And I was like, well, I never even had a family or kids, nothing. I was leaving nothing behind. I was just gonna, dissipate right here. I was just gonna burn. So when I was in there for the 45 seconds, it wasn't flashbacking like you think in the movies, and probably people with faith, they flash back like photos of their family and all that stuff. And then they kind of, make do with it. And then just kind of like, okay, let's just curl up here and that's it. And then say a prayer. For me, it was pretty much the opposite. I was like seeing a lot of like, oh no, like what did I miss out on in life?
Yeah.
As far as family traveling experiences. And I even think, man, I experienced a lot, but not enough. And then, so then but something flashed in my mind in there, like, why am I even in here? Like, yes, I wanted to be a firefighter my whole life. I spent my whole career pretty much trying to be a firefighter and then expecting to retire in 30 years as a firefighter. And in that time in there, I was like, why am I even in here? I could be doing anything else. I could be just sitting in whatever in the office building in the high rise right next to it. It just hit me like, man, like, why am I sacrificing like my life for nothing right now? There wasn't anything to save either. Yeah. And I was like, it just changed my whole like life experiences. And it made me really sad that I thought I was going to die, and I didn't get to see. I was making fun of London, but I never got to go to London earlier. So, I mean, I was just not in the right mindset, and I feel like I think I can do better with life.
Yeah, absolutely. So what year did that incident occur?
That was May 16th, 2020. So right when COVID hit. I had COVID in March of 2020 as well. I was one of the first firefighters to get it in LA. And then I came back from my COVID leave. I got burned in a fire, and then I wasn't really scared of the COVID. Like, I didn't think I was going to die type of thing. Just because I got it so soon, nobody knew anything about it. Yeah. And, I recovered from that. And now I almost died in a fire. And it was kind of a mess. 11 burned firefighters all coming to the hospital at once. And it's during COVID, so nobody's even allowed inside. Obviously at that time, they weren't putting masks on us because we were all burned, but they still made us take tests.
Man. That's crazy. Wait, so during this incident too, there was 11 firefighters that was stuck in this one building. Can you walk me through the transition of you guys breaking entry, getting inside the building, what exploded, and how you got stuck? Like, were you guys all together? Were you guys separated? Like, was there any communication going on?
So it's at the busiest station in it might be the busiest in the nation. It's in Skid Row of Los Angeles. Oh, yeah. So they run, I don't remember because I wasn't assigned there. It was just the overtime day. And so it was the standard. We all have standard operating procedures. We all do the same. We all know what to do when we get to a fire. And that's one of the things the Los Angeles Fire Department is great at. Like, nobody gets off the rig, like, hey, what do we do, Captain? Like, what do we do? Everybody's like in their seat. You're assigned to this. You do this if we get a fire. So I was on the rescue ambulance that day, and then we attach ourselves if we're all on scene with the engine to do fire attack, and that's what we did. So 6 of us went inside, and I think it was 6 of us. I don't know how, I forget how many were past the ladder. There was
Yeah.
more people, but there was a ladder inside that we all got stuck behind on the retreat. We all got stuck behind because at that point, when you think you're gonna die, the building's like shaking. I think at some point, the ladder shook, or we panicked and we made that ladder block our exit. And then, so I think, I can't remember right now, it's 5 or 6 of us were stuck behind the ladder. And then the other guys that got burned were on the roof trying to get off the roof at the same time. And it was a narrow building with the 2 sides had other buildings on it. So you can only get off in the same spot you came on.
Yeah.
And the fire was roaring out the front, right where the ladder, it burned up we have wood ladders. It couldn't go out. They burned the fire truck across the street. The homeless tent on the other side of that fire truck burned. Like everything was on fire for like that whole retreat. So like we all got burned just escaping, and luckily no one died in that fire. Like it was a phenomenon that we've never seen. Usually when there's an explosion, it just goes out for a couple seconds and it dies down. If you watch the video, it's on YouTube because it's Los Angeles. So someone had a drone up and had the whole thing on drone footage. And you can just see like this fireball torching across the street for like 45 seconds. And it's crazy. And then you could see all the people on the roof getting off, like, and just burning and on the aerial ladder.
Yeah.
And then you can't see is the people inside, which is, there were some of us inside. But
what were the people saying inside? Like for you, like was there like panic between?
There was a point where like we were standing up inside, walking in like normal, like not hot. Yeah. And then there was a point where like you just knew. Everyone just went, oh shit. Like,
yeah.
Like, I don't know. I screamed like, what the fuck is that sound? You know? And then immediately the guy in front of me is running back, run. And then I turn around and run, and everybody's already running because you didn't even have to like do anything. And then immediately after like I turned around, it was so hot, it just hit the ground in like 1 second. Just for me to finish that one phrase, yeah, it went from me standing to me on the ground, like getting hot, and then trying to escape. And then nobody was communicating at that point. I think that's where like we do a lot of firefighter training, and we try to put things in the worst case scenarios so you don't panic. Yep. But when it came down to it, like, I mean, I panicked. It was like I can't believe how like the captains and stuff can like still function. And I wanted to be a captain before the fire. And then at that point, I've been like, how am I supposed to make sure my whole crew gets out? Because I was like, there's no way I'm going to get out. Yep. By myself. So how am I going to sit in here and wait for everyone else to get? That went through my mind after the fire. I'm like, man, I don't want to be captain anymore. I can't put that on. Like, I can't put that on me. Like, if I can't get anybody out. Yeah. Like, it was full panic mode. I didn't hear anybody like say anything except it was just screaming. And then the radio traffic, like they teach us to go to the radio. Like, dude, I thought if I had to go to my Mayday button and hit the button and say something like Mayday, 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 I thought that wasn't enough time. I was going to die if I had to do that. Wow. So it sounded like the whole building was collapsed as well as being on fire. So that whole situation, I did hear someone do the Mayday tones, which is from the outside. And that gave me like a second hope that, okay, they know that there's people trapped in here at least. Yeah. But like in that whole mindset right there, I was like, no, man, I don't know if this is what I want to do. But luckily we're a big fire department and we have a lot of opportunities for the firefighters if something happens like this. Yeah. Like you get hurt on or off duty, like there's positions they can find for you if it's necessary. So right now I'm in the dispatcher role. We do have firefighters that go into our dispatchers in the city of LA. So if you call 911 in LA, like firefighters like me pick up and we send the fire or medical. Yeah. And so that's a good position for people, you know, like that aren't ready to go back in the field. There was a guy in a wheelchair there that got in an accident before. So it's like, we have opportunities like that in Los Angeles. Otherwise, I honestly almost quit like a couple months after the fire. Wow. Yeah, I feel like you really don't know what type of risk you're putting yourself into until you're actually getting into it. Because the reality is,
it could be really nice and easy, even though we train, even if you're at a really busy station, right? Or a station that trains, you can be in a complete situation where you're just chilling, you're hanging out with the guys, you're running these medical calls, all this other stuff. But then you put yourself into a risky situation, which that's what essentially you're called to do, but you don't really know the full extent of that until you experience it, until you get involved in it.
Exactly.
At that point in time, it's like, whoa, what just happened? I mean, I think to be honest, probably I've been in quite a few fires and quite a few ones that have been hot, right? Like it's been definitely interesting because there's been every one of those situations. If I didn't fall back to my training, I could have easily been hurt, lost, or fell down 3 stories down an elevator shaft that I was clearing a room on that I thought was a bedroom. And I'm glad I checked the floor because I couldn't see anything with my tick. I checked the floor with my sounding hook because I couldn't see, and it literally the hook almost dropped, and it was like 3 stories down, and that was like could have been bam right there too. While this whole mansion was on fire, and we were about to like call it to go into from offensive to defensive, which would have completely changed the game.
Exactly.
But you don't know what that's to happen. Like that could happen at any point in time. Like there's probably guys going through right now who are having some crazy events, whether it's on a medical aid, a traffic accident, a hazmat, or a fire. It could be anything, but it's thrown to them. I mean, so it's crazy the amount of risk that we're putting ourselves in, but not acknowledging it.
Yeah, and that's one of the best parts of the job is that you never know what you're going to go on, which is every day is different, and that's some part of the challenge of the job that everyone loves.
Yeah, it makes it fun.
It's going to happen. It could happen in the worst way. You go on a fire that you've never had before, or scenario. We train for everything, but there's always a new one that's like that actually happened. Like I think there's a funny one that I always hear is like we always do what ifs. What if this happens? What do you do next? What if this happens? What do you do next?
Yep.
So one of them was like, what if the fire hydrant's on fire? Like, where do you get your water? And then one day there was a fire hydrant on fire. Like, I was like, well, there it is. Like, it actually happens. You can train for everything, but something else is going to happen that you're not trained for yet. But hopefully at one point someone passes that knowledge down. And that's why I don't mind sharing the story, because a lot of people need to know what's going to happen to you if you become a firefighter. Like, I mean, I'm sure most people that like myself, like we're gung-ho about it. Like, hey, I'm going to do anything to become a firefighter.
Yeah.
Like, I'll give my life for someone else.
Yeah.
But then when you're in that situation, like,
there's no way.
You kind of think about it, like, no way, no.
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy that I'm going to die right now.
Yeah.
For nothing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe there is that one time where you save someone, but you die. I don't know. There's not many scenarios where a firefighter goes in, saves a person, but dies inside. I can't think of one right now that we gave our life in exchange for another.
Yeah.
A lot of times just us giving our lives for nothing. Yeah.
Rules, at least definitely for pursuing. That's kind of hard to say, but I think the reality is, there's a lot of times when we give ourselves a lot of undue risk, and it's in the sake of training. It can be in the sake of a call where nothing really happens. It could be the sake of you're in a fire and now some idiot just starts shooting at you. Like working in San Diego, I had 2 of my close buddies. They're in an incident where they had to go because there was like a smoke alarm or something that went off, but there was a complaint, this guy being very loud and making threats. So fire went with PD, and fire, they're on probation, less than a year on. And they hit the door to open up and then let room for the PD to come through. This guy was wearing armor with these 2 assault rifles and then started shooting all through the walls at everybody. But guess what? The firefighters didn't have any protection, nothing. They had absolutely nothing. They had a long hallway that they couldn't hide anything behind. And we had one of my firefighters and a good friend of mine. He was hiding, and I was at another station on the job listening to the radio as this is all happening. But literally was there just to see about a smoke alarm. That's it. And all of a sudden now he's getting shot at and being really hiding behind a pole, if you will, or not even a pole, but just like the ledge of the inward part of the door in the hallway in an apartment. Like that's where he was hiding behind, but his like BA was like getting, all stuck and, popping out. And dude, that's real stuff, man. I mean, it's just nonstop risk and you just don't know when. You just really don't.
I think like it sounds like we're being really negative, but 99% of the job is positive. It's just that 1% is like,
yep,
can die for something that it was not even our fault. We didn't for the fire I was in, we didn't know that place is operating with illegal hazards in there and it was going to blow up. I mean, we didn't know that when we open this door, someone's going to start shooting at us. That it's not what you expect. So
yeah. And we should definitely emphasize the job is amazing. It's a great job. It's one of the most fun I'm sure we've both ever had in our whole entire lives. And we can say that across the board. And we just wanted to emphasize.
It just needs to be aware. I think you just need to be aware that, okay, it's not all like, it's not all Disneyland conditions. I remember Chief always said, it's just not Disneyland conditions or whatever. Like, it's not always like that. It's just not. But it is for most people, and they go through the whole career and retire. Like it is. Like you never have any problems, and it's just, and so you've been in it. Like I hate sounding so negative about it, but it's like I went through something that most people die and never get to tell the story. So that's why nobody knows about it. But when you survive this and you can tell the story, like, it's not. But a lot of people recover from what I have gone through. And I don't know, maybe my mindset's different than some people that, want to get back on the job and just keep going at it. I don't know. But for me, it's changed me.
Yeah. Well, there's something I always say, and this what kind of led to me. That's all I ever wanted to do was become a fireman. Like most of my people in my life, are all either police officers or firemen. So that was definitely always in my mind of what I wanted to do. But thinking about it, if you die, even though the fire department will remember you for some time, you will be replaced like that. Mm-hmm. But what made a big difference for me in the thought process is if I die, and that's what it looks like in the fire service side, but my wife, my daughters, like that's a whole different story. I'm not replaceable for them. That's not something that can be easily replaced. So it's in terms of priority. Should I be lifting up my dream or my job that I think is badass and fun as like the top priority, or should I be lifting up my family and people and really doing life with them? Because what I directly do or don't do directly affects them all the time. So that definitely gave me perspective on, I guess, what might be a little more important. And I think for you to be able to realize that and see that even at a position where you're not, engaged, you don't have like necessarily kids or anything like that's, I think really important because I did not think that way at all when I was single.
Well, right after too, I was thinking like, I mean, like most people, you want to get married and have kids.
Yeah.
And that was like my mindset after. I'm like, wow, like now I need to like move on that part of my life. And then it still hasn't happened 2 years later, still single, but I haven't traveled, which is terrible. I hate that. I don't know but I've been taking the advantage of the COVID, and that's where I can't travel. So I have a lot more money saved. So I spent it on real estate. So
Love it. So let's dive into that. So now you have like a little bit of mindset shift. I know we went like on a detour on that, but like your perspective changed. So now you're like, hey, I want my time back. I want to make sure I experience more in life. I want to be able to have a family. I want to travel more and experience more and do things that I'm not going to leave this world regretting. So I'm assuming you started your real estate journey in 2020. Is that what that sounds right?
So I guess you could say when I really started putting my mindset to investing was when I was recovering from the fire. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't go outside.
How bad were you?
Only so much. I burned my back and my ears.
Ooh.
Like 3rd degree. But it was like you couldn't go outside, and I couldn't. Just COVID was happening at the peak, so nobody was doing anything anyway. So I was like, okay, it's not bad. But I started listening to podcasts and reading some books about real estate, And I was like, okay, I can do this. And then I started going out and just riding the bike and stuff. And like, I could just listen to the podcast and just keep going. That's pretty much all I did for a couple months. Like I couldn't do anything else. And then I was like, okay, I always wanted to live in San Diego. I'm gonna move to San Diego this year. So, I luckily got a great realtor. Says I sent you his info. Says Cesar, just randomly on a hike, and he helped me. He showed me the way, like more practically.
Yeah.
To listen to podcasts and read books. So I would say it was like November 2020 is when I bought my first investment property. It was like a house in Sierra Mesa, San Diego.
Yeah.
And I did the house hack strategy, and it does really well. But technically, I've always been interested in real estate, because when I was in Vegas, I bought a place in Henderson, and I still kept it and rented out still. So that pretty helps.
Yeah.
Because in 2020 or 2021, I don't know early 2021, I was able to cash out refi on that one. And that brought me to my third property. So I guess you could say it started in 2015 or whatever, 2014, when I bought that house in Vegas.
Yeah.
But because I actually used it later on as leverage, but started after the fire, a couple months.
Gosh, man, that's good. That's good. So what are your future goals, or what are you looking to accomplish, like in the long run, in terms of, say a year from now, 5 years from now, or even just like, do you still see yourself with Fire for long term? What does that look like?
Long term, it's hard to see, because like I'm single now, so I could leave almost any time. But I hope to have a family and kids one day, and that can change a lot of the trajectory of my life and how much money I need. But long-term goals, I set 20 years in the fire department is going to be my max, like, because I'm at 6 years right now. So 14 more. I mean, I won't be able to collect until I'm 55, but that won't, I don't know. I like time more than money now. So 20 years, if stay in the fire department, it'd be 20 years max. I hope I don't get to that point where I can retire, but I'm at 15 years, and then I'm like, well, I can stay 5 more years, get full benefits or whatever. But hopefully I'm 33 now, and I'd like to be, if like real estate could take over, and I'd like to be like retired from everything at 40.
Yeah.
And I think just from, reading, listening to podcasts, being in it now, I can see it happening, because it goes faster when you're in it. It's the first few are a little slower, but you get more knowledge every single time.
Exactly. You start building on that foundation. That's amazing, man. I think that's really good, really cool. So this is part of the show also, we like to talk about the last 3 things, or last 3 questions that we like to ask. One is going to be, is there a habit that you would deem, the one habit that you would deem that helped you with your success overall, is the first one. Second is, what's your favorite book or podcast that you read this last year? And third one is, how do people find you? So starting off with our first, what is the habit that you would recommend for success? High level living.
My high level habit, I think, would be is waking up early and going to the gym and getting that all out before anybody else wakes up. That's my goal. Like when I'm off, my days off, I like to get to the gym and be done with the gym before other people wake up, because now I have a whole day to do something that makes like me better that day. Yeah. So I think that's the best habit, is waking up right when the sun rises or whatever time it is and getting it done. Because I think you do need to have that physical exercise too, to help with your mental stress. So I do think that's a great habit, is waking up and going to the gym early.
Great.
There's plenty of habits, but I think that can set you apart from other people.
Just one thing, just acting and focusing on one disciplined item, man, I think that has a ripple effect and completely changes everything else about your life as well. And I totally see that. I think it's the same thing within my my space or my where I work and what I do. And it also helps with the mindset and regards to how we actually think through things. Because it's a very conquering aspect, especially when you go to the gym and you hit it hard like that. And then, like, hey, no offense to everyone else, but I'm better than you.
There's a lot of times when I run into somebody and they give me attitude, and I'm like, I always think to myself, I'm better than that person, like regardless of the
Oh man, there was this one meme I saw on Instagram, and it depicted it so perfectly. It was like, walking from the gym, finishing your workout at 7 a.m. and you're walking home, and it's just like this little voice. Is this what it feels like to be better than everyone? It was just very simple, very, very funny. But
and when I'm at the gym there, those are I don't talk to anybody at the gym because it's like taboo now, right? Because everyone has headphones in. I remember back in the day, you just talk to everybody because nobody had headphones. Like you just had to listen to music and talk to people that was playing out loud on the speakers. Now it's just like everyone's on their own thing.
Yep.
But I always look at people like, okay, this guy's high level. This girl's high level. They're here getting it in before work or whatever they're doing. Like,
I love that.
To wake up early at 6 a.m. or so is not easy.
Yeah, exactly. It's a mind shift. It's very easy to stay in your bed and just relax and chill and all that kind of stuff. But to get your mental fortitude to actually take action early in the morning when you don't feel like it, right? I mean, it's good.
It all starts with, I think it was a book or podcast I heard. I forget, it's The Bigger Pockets, but he said something about just when you lie there, when you wake up, you turn off your alarm and you just lie there. You don't go back to, like, people lie there for an hour or half an hour. You don't do anything. The best thing to do, I guess this is the habit thing, is just you just get up immediately. And then you won't waste that 15 extra minutes that you just lied there and didn't do anything. You didn't get any better sleep. You didn't even fall asleep probably. So you just get up.
Yep, that's right, man. I wish I could just say that so hard to so many people right now in my own mind that I'm just thinking.
I'm hoping it works. Like whoever listens to this, they just know when their alarm goes off, don't just lie there 15 minutes, just get up, and then you'll save 15 more minutes of your day.
Exactly. Yeah, man. I think Jocko Willink, he was a big proponent of that as well. I know he says a lot of that stuff in his like motivational talks, and it's
I have that book. Your second question was like what book you're reading or whatever.
Yep.
I haven't read that book, but I have it. Someone gave it to me right after the fire and said the Can't Hurt Me book.
Oh yeah, I think is that David Goggins?
Oh, it's David Goggins. Yeah. I've been trying to read that book, but it's just like I'm in this psychology book. Like I like reading. Like right now, I'm reading this Malcolm Gladwell called Blink. It's about making decisions, like fast decisions. Blink, in the blink of an eye type of thing.
Heard of that. How was that?
I'm not done with it, but I like his books because they're all like how to think differently type of things.
Yeah.
So, I like that because I feel like I think differently now, and it kind of sounds like it puts me off, like or it makes me sound dumb, but it's because I'm thinking better than you.
I dig it. Well, awesome. Well, for the last question, then, how can people get a hold of you?
Well, my Instagram, I used to be an influencer before influencing became a thing. Like I was getting these things sent to me because of my travel photos, but my Instagram is Andrew B. Tom. So it's like Andrew and then Bravo. Yeah. And then my last name is Tom, Tom. So
Andrew B. Tom.
You can get a hold of me there. That's my most active thing. I don't have anything like TikTok I'm not on that. I know you do short-term rentals and stuff. I don't get on these things even though I should.
That's all good. I love it. Well, Tom, thank you so much for coming on the show today and just being able to share your story and definitely the hard parts of that, but also just the insights of the beautiful part of being able to get some of your time back and traveling. And I'm excited to see what that looks like when you bring into a family in the mix. I'm really curious. So I'm definitely be holding on and following you for that.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna start posting. I haven't posted since the fire. I posted this one story about what happened on the fire, and I haven't posted in 2 years. But
wow,
I'm working on getting back to it. That was one thing that traveling My Instagram ended up not really being, well, it wasn't my life. It was like all my travel stuff, but I never posted anything about anything else because literally I had a following that I felt like I had to just keep posting traveling stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to transitioning into, I'm start posting my real estate investing stuff on there and hopefully share how it works for the rookie investors like myself. And this is how I did it. So that's what I'm trying to do now.
I love it. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Andrew, thanks for coming on the show.
All right. Thank you.